I'm Maciej,
And I'm Martin,
and you are watching
Scene World Podcast.
Hey, it's the Scene World Podcast. My name is AJ, and that is Jurg, and my voice is not working properly today. And I'm also not home, as you can tell. But if anybody wants some used DDR3 memory, I'm your guy.
Oh. Actually, I'm still using DDR3 in my PC.
So am I.
That is 10 years old.
Yeah, so
and
am
I get 32 gigabytes of it, the maximum.
Me too.
It can handle. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, before we go to Robert Tuck, the community manager of GameTree, and also the first person who completed Super Mario Bros. On the Super Nintendo at Super Mario All-Stars.
Wait, he was the first person to complete it?
Yes.
To beat the game?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
He is founder of Screwball, the gaming collective.
Okay.
So, and he has a few other records that we mentioned in the interview. So he's a big guy. But before we go to there, we have some news. Well, perhaps let's start with the elephant in the room.
Hello, I'm Martin. You are watching Scene World Podcast. We are Unijoy team.
Today, the Unijoy team from Poland, who we interviewed in our podcast last year, announced a Kickstarter update about the Unithor brand new joystick for retro computers.
Yes.
That their main designer, Marcin, which we interviewed, actually, moved away from the project.
He stepped down. He left the board and stepped down and took off.
So that means it's unclear whether it can continue. And they will decide within the next few weeks if they can continue or whether they will refund instead.
I guess what it all mostly comes down to is whether his designs are his and he took them with him, or because the marketing and electronics guys are still there and still taking, is still part of the team. His design for the system, there were prototypes made. I'm sure that there were probably differences between the prototype and the final product, but maybe they can use those prototype molds that they had and use that to create a finished product rather than just, dump the whole thing and refund people their money.
Yeah, so this year's not a good year for retro projects. I mean,
and we're only 26 days into it.
Right. And just in the very recent past, there was the Pipecker reader from the Jam GG team, who we also interviewed last year from France, who also finished their project unsuccessful and refunded. But there was it because of raised prices of components due to the pandemic. That leaves Quenelle God from France.
Well, also the Amico also had its fair share of problems.
Exactly.
This past year.
Exactly. But they shipped five handmade units to YouTubers for beta testing. So perhaps we'll see something about that. We will find it out.
Did Frank get one? No, Frank didn't get one.
No. We are none of those 5. Hey.
Yeah.
People. Yeah. Anyway.
Which we should have been, because I don't think any other podcast or media outlet has covered the Amico and Tommy Tallarico more than we have.
Yeah, we did 4 times. That's true.
Yeah, to the point of almost getting fed up with them. But
Woo.
yeah, I mean that's yeah, we've devoted some significant time to helping them out, and so I'm kind of slightly insulted that we wouldn't get a review unit, but
Well, different people on the strings now.
yeah.
Anyway,
Tommy
other
Tallarico.
news. What did you say?
I said Tommy Tallarico.
Be careful about that. Anyway, other news. Well, there has been some letdowns by Bethesda and other game studios in the recent weeks. That is why Frederick Schreiber, the CEO of Slipgate and 3D Realms, actually announced on his LinkedIn that they are both hiring in the game industry.
Okay.
So, if you be one of the letdowns and you want a new job in the gaming industry, Frederick Schreiber could be your new CEO boss.
Sweet.
And as we know from them, those guys in Denmark also support 100% remote. So you don't have to be on site to work with them.
Where do I sign up? Tech support's getting to me.
Tech support. Interesting.
The listeners and/or viewers at home don't realize that we just had to interrupt our podcast for me to take a lengthy tech support call. That was
on your side. I'm already off work.
Yeah, that was essentially just enter your password properly.
Anyway, next news. Petroplanas, our guest we had a few years ago from Venezuela, where he spoke about that he would love to do some soundtrack for a video game. Actually,
he did do some soundtrack for my review of what was that game? I did a review of a game.
Right. A while ago.
Rogue Spirit is that it? Does that sound right?
Could be.
There was a video game, and we did use his music as background for that game.
Yeah.
I believe it was called Rogue Spirit that I played.
And that game was from an Indonesian game studio, and it's called Alexander Ball, A Country Ball Tale, and it's actually on early access on Steam right now.
Okay.
So
Alexander, A Country Ball Tale.
Exactly.
All right, we'll check it out.
We'll link to that and to him. Yeah, nice. And well, keeping the gaming spirit alive, the GameTree party starts next Friday. So on the 3rd of February. That means we will publish this podcast episode before that. And the event is limited to 300 attendees. So I will post a link to the invitation. And good luck to you.
And where is this being held?
USA.
Oh, it's not virtual.
No, in person.
Okay.
And well, other news from WeContakte. They added a new feature to the WeContakte music service, podcasts. So now you Russians and Americans now can go to the WeContakte music service app and listen to podcasts, for example, ours. Unfortunately, if I go to their site from Germany, it says it's at the moment not available from the German app place.
Which is
App Store. So I opened a ticket asking when it will be available. I'm still waiting for the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, staying in the hosting Realm.
Realm.
Apple Podcasts actually announced that they have now a list of supported hosting providers.
Okay.
So you can actually look it up now, which hosting provider would automatically submit you to Apple Podcasts. Well, which is not feasible for us because we are self-hosted.
Mhm.
So anyway, for those who aren't, there's your thing. Well, and
Okay.
well, that would be all actually.
Cool.
Yeah, from my
Nice.
side.
Yeah, I don't have anything much over here aside from the fact that my voice
Awesome.
sounds terrible.
So let's get
And,
screwed and give the ball to Robert Chuck.
Yeah.
Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Today, we have another interview for the podcast, and this time it's Robert Tuck. Hello, Robert. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you as well.
Awesome. So today we will be talking about a couple of things that have been done in your life regarding video games. And one of them is actually you have been the guy I've been in touch with because of talking to the two co-founders of GameTree.
Yes.
And during that interview, they actually told me that you are actually quite a bit of a big shot on the game industry or game scene because you did other stuff before GameTree. And I thought that was quite interesting. So we should talk about everything that is interesting about you.
Okay, everything. Well, that should be a very short podcast.
Yeah, I mean, let's start perhaps with the usual question. How did you get involved into computers? What was your first touching point?
Oh, my goodness. Pong.
Pong,
So
really?
I remember I was raised in a religion that didn't celebrate Christmas, so my grandmother brought it right after Christmas as a non-Christmas present. And it was just being, that's really, I think, what started my love for gaming. And I think there was two things about it that really struck me. One was skill, because you could definitely build a skill level, and the second was the competitive part. And I found at a very early age that I happened to be very competitive.
Awesome. And what happened from there, from your non-Christmas present?
Yeah. From my non-Christmas gift. Wow, it gets very convoluted at that point. So actually, here on my wall, which I guess is an advantage of having a phone, I can flip this around and show you. My love for the game continued. In fact, let me just do that. There's a thing here on my wall. Let me flip this around if I can. Does it show me? No, maybe I just do it like this. Okay. So can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nintendo Power.
In Nintendo Power, and volume 21 in February of 91. There's me with hair and a mustache.
Wow.
Yes. And the love continued. I found Mario when he was still you couldn't play him at home. You had to go to a machine like that one there behind you, which amazing background, by the way. I'll give you a tour of my office here at the end. Obviously, with my relationship with Mario Brothers, which we're about to get into, it's Mario all the way around. So I found Mario while I was pumping quarters in. It's amazing what you do for quarters back then, man. I'd go wash your car, get $2 worth of quarters so I could go play, So, and then they released him on video game form for your home use. And I ended up being the first person in the United States to beat Super Mario Brothers on Super Nintendo.
Which is interesting, Super Mario Brothers on Super Nintendo. I was thinking about that. That must have been in the Super Mario All-Stars cartridge, right?
Yes.
Because I was thinking about it. Did they ever release the game? And then I was like, yes, they made they made this Super Mario All-Stars. That is where you had it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And what's funny about that is, so I'm a 55-year-old gamer. You mean you don't see that very much, And back when I beat him or it, whatever you want to call it, when I beat the game, I made the newspaper for a hot second. You know what I mean? Like a local newspaper picked it up and they were like, "Oh, yay," and it was no big deal. and very quickly went into, because gaming wasn't even, there was nothing, gaming was, you know, a bunch of kids. Nobody gave any credence to it. Nobody thought about it as any serious industry, and we're in the billions of dollars a year now. Nobody thought twice about it. Nobody.
I mean, I'm a kid of the 90s, and even for me, most people thought it was a waste of time, you know. So, if as it was for you even earlier in the early 80s, that must have been even more extreme. This
Really
negative waste of time
much the
sentiment.
meme, go outside, go outside, go outside, you know. But here's what's interesting about it that you don't realize. Now here I am, 55. Gosh, it hurts me to say that every time. Here I am, 55 years of age. And when I look back now at what gaming brought to me early on, let me tell you, here's the things it brought to my life. It taught me skill-based levels, eye-hand coordination, how to work with a team, communication, and organization. And if you take those 5 things and implement them into any work environment out there today, you fit well. And I wouldn't have picked up those skill levels without the thing that drove me, which was gaming. I was doing something I loved. So it didn't feel like work or education. And I picked up those skill-based levels, and I think it's helped me throughout my entire life.
How did that? You said a team play or working in a team. I mean, Super Mario Bros. Was a single game most of the time. I mean, you could play with two people, but double.
So you could also play hot seat. And back in the day, my house was the only one that had the game. And so the neighborhood came there, you know what I mean? And we put that half a team over there and that half a team over there, hot seat. And the team that holds it the longest wins at the end. And so, you know, figuring out, much like baseball, who we would rotate in next and who needs to sit this round out and all of that, it became a very valuable skill set.
Awesome. So how was it for you to beat the game? I mean, did you prepare for it? Have you had the plan of, now I will beat the game?
No, it was, you know, myself and my brother-in-law, young brother-in-law, the picture with me there. We were there together playing it, and we had the mind to record it because we could run it to a VCR. And we were doing it not for prosperity's sake, but because we were getting stuck on levels. And then you could go back, you know what I mean? Because in the minute you have to make a move, you know. But if you recorded it on a VCR tape, and I don't even have one around to show you what these guys that are watching have no clue what that is. But if you recorded it on a VCR, then you could go back and you could pause it and watch it. And so we had it recording, and all of a sudden we got a black market version. It didn't have English. We didn't know what to do but go forward. You know, we couldn't read the things that it told us to do. And so we had no idea that the end was coming until suddenly it was there. So it came upon us very quickly, and very much, I remember a whole lot of this and a whole lot of jumping and, and all of that. And so, yeah, it was quite the experience, truly.
Wow. And then you wrote to Nintendo Power and they published it. It was easy like that.
Yeah, well, again, not a massive market back then, you know. So we sent them recording of the recording of the tape, and we just asked, you know, has anybody else reported it? And so they reported that no, nobody else had sent anything in that said they had beaten it, and they considered me the first at the time. And of course, I showed that to my family, who immediately called the news, and the news didn't care, but the newspaper picked it up.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
Now, from that point going forward, though, there's a big gap of time as life happens. You know, because I'm going into my 20s. I'm raising a family. I'm figuring out my career. I'm doing all of that. And then I remember I was living in Branson, Missouri, and my lifelong friend, John Johnson, who was recently passed, TX JCJ, he called me. I was sitting outside a sushi place, and he called me. He said, "Man, I found this game. You've got to take a look at it." And I had already been gaming a lot on Xbox. At that point, I had reached up to a #1 in the world in Tiger Woods golf. And so I spent a lot of time on that. And I'll show you that I have the tattoos of that, and I'll show those here, and maybe I can send you some pictures of them.
Sure.
And John was constantly, TXJCJ, he was constantly trying to pull me to something else because he didn't like golf at all. It was too slow for him. So he calls me, he says, man, I found this game and I think that you're going to like it. You unlock guns and you build them up and you build your character up and you get these, and it was Call of Duty.
Of course, famous Call of Duty. Okay.
and so I made the switch and fell in love. And then the next game that they released behind the one that we were playing, and I just remember it was the first time I had actually been able to direct a team through my headset. You know what I mean? Where you have constant input of information. And I fell in love with that. The next game behind that they released that I bought was Call of Duty Ghost. And I became second in the world in Call of Duty Ghost.
Wow.
And then when I got to number 2 in the world in Call of Duty Ghost, I looked at the guy that was above me who had almost double what I had, and I was like, number 2 is good. Because I had spent a lot of time at that point at it, and I'm like, I'll take a number 2. So very good. And so that's kind of my thumbprint. If we go to more recently, the feather in my cap, the thing that I'm really the most proud of is being able to be on the team, being the community manager and working with GameTree, as I believe that that's truly the future. We've talked about some past stuff, but I believe really the future of gaming is going to be centered around GameTree because it has everything gaming. And so I'm just proud at 55, if I can just be blunt, I'm just proud to still be relevant in an industry that should have left me behind 30 years ago.
Interesting. Yeah, when I was talking with Dana and John, they actually told me you did something like a portal about games before, and that is how they picked you up.
Yes, I was actually in a different gaming community, and that gaming community was collapsing because of the app itself. The app it had never really made it. I had went in and it streamlined what I needed for Screwball Gaming, which is, between number 2 in the world and GameTree, somewhere in there is Screwball Gaming, where I'm the community owner for that. We have 4,500 plus on Discord. We have about 350,000 social media impressions a month. We do free cash tournaments monthly, and then my cohort and myself, Adam Loremore and myself, we broadcast that on our Twitch channels. And the last tournament, which was a one-day tournament, we had about 17,000 show up to watch that. And what we do is we do fly around coverage. So as somebody gets in a stressful situation towards the end of a game, circle closing, whatever it is, it's typically the Warzone rebirth, that type of thing. We watch that, we put that up for our viewer, and then we have our boxes set here where we're talking about the situation that they're in. And I think that one of the things that people have found that they like most about that is the relationship between Adam and I, because it's very, very much at each other a lot, and people like that, I think. So, but I had been building my community there and trying to recruit. We put several teams together, and I found out, because of the inner workings of it, that it was going to morph, it was going to change. And so I went looking for somewhere else that was like it, and downloaded, went right down the line, actually, right? Got on the Play Store and tried that one, and they were very much gamer girls, hire me to talk to you, or pro gamer, hire me to get to level you up, or it wasn't community. And then I found GameTree, and through process of everything that John has told you about, got into communication with the two of them and found out that we very much see the gaming world the same, even though he's younger than I. And I feel like I integrated well with a very younger crew, and I'm proud to say that it's going very well. And I've been moved into community manager and kind of the help info guy. And we'll be going to GDC this year, and I'll actually get a chance to meet John and Dana for the first time in person. I'm very excited about it.
Awesome. So you did really do a lot. regarding games. As I said, first time beating Super Mario Bros. On the Super Nintendo, then being the second on Call of Duty Ghost. So, I mean, basically, you have achieved it all. I mean, there are many people who did stuff in in games, but only a very little portion can say they achieved something like being the first to have beaten a game or being the second in a game worldwide.
Yeah. I call it dumb luck, I guess. Tenacity. We'll call it tenacity. It's at the time, I remember taking a pic when I got to be number one with Tiger Woods Golf in 2009 or 10. I remember you could pull the scoreboard up, and I remember I had fairly new phone that could take pictures. I'm dating myself here, right? And I remember thinking, wow, that's really cool. I'm number one, and I took some pictures, and that was the end of that, the celebration of it. And so, at the time, it didn't seem grandiose at all. But now looking back, I can see that, it did give me a little bit of a thumbprint. I got a text randomly the other day on GameTree that just said, hey, I'm just reaching out to let you know I looked at your bio and I think that what you've done is awesome and living legend, and I really appreciated that because I don't really think of it that way. Again, I'm really glad to be in an industry that I still love at 55 when most of the people in the industry are, 20 years younger than me.
Is that so? I mean, there are many people still being around. I mean, take Walter Day, for example.
True, but I mean, those of us at my age level are a lot thinner, kind of like my hair, It's a lot thinner than it used to be, back even just a decade ago. Wow, a little more than that, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, when I was in my heyday, I can tell you that even though I don't get to game as much, I have permanent calluses on my thumbs here that are deep calluses. And even though I don't work construction, I'm an entrepreneur, and so I work with my mind, and I have these massive calluses on my thumbs right here. And I can tell you something else. I grip my controller. I'm Xbox, so all the way up. I grip my controller when I play. And so last year I had to start taking ice baths for my elbow. But, I'm still in there, still gaming. So but those of us at my level, my age, I think they're a little thinner than they used to be for sure.
It's interesting that you see it this way because, I mean, depending on the statistics you are after, they say the average gamer is between 35 and 55, but perhaps it depends on who you ask and what statistics you're reading.
I think that's very true. With so many spin doctors out there, I feel like you almost have to look at what the article was about and see if they were trying to prove their point by using that age group, because statistics, what's the old meme that 87% of statistics are made up on the spot, or some meme like that. So I look at my community. I'm the old guy, I have 4,400 in my community, and I'm the oldest guy in there. And so a lot of my guys are in their 20s, and they're trying to break into streaming, and they're just becoming aware of what their possibilities are, and they're trying to figure it out. And so maybe it's because my friend group or my community group with Screwball Gaming and GameTree seems to be younger than me. Maybe that's what it is.
Perhaps, yeah. Tell us a bit about your group. I mean, we know a lot about GameTree, but tell us a bit more about your group.
About Screwball Gaming?
Yes.
Let me get comfortable. This could take a minute. Screwball Gaming was born out of boredom, truly. So COVID hit. And unlike so many people that I truly feel for that had very bad COVID stories, my personal story wasn't that. I have a pre-existing lung condition. Over here, medical marijuana is allowed, and so that also doesn't help my lung condition. And when COVID hit, it was very scary. We didn't know what it was or what it could do. The news was saying it'll kill you, and that if you had pre-existing conditions, that you were on the top of the list. And I freaked out, like I think a lot of people worldwide did. And so we were in a very big home in Branson, Missouri at the time. And so I called my kids to me, and told them I'm going into lockdown. I can work from home. And since we don't know how crazy the world's going to be, because we're talking April, May, June of 2020 when the world's nuts. You know, you've got places. I think you guys shut down for a while too, didn't you? Just
we did. You're not allowed to leave the house after 9 p.m.
Yeah,
Totally.
so I've got the whole family there, and the rule was, if you leave, I'm sorry, but you can't come back because we don't know enough about it yet. So we're here until until we break here. You know, this is where we're going to be. And after a week or two of that, and everybody's sitting around, I'm like, oh man, I have got to give these guys something to do. I've got a house full of people. So, in an attempt to keep people busy, I sat down and said, you know what, let's do something. I was watching a gamer, an American gamer, Stone Mountain 64. He was the first person that Facebook went to when they said, we want to do gaming. How should we do it? Right. So cool guy, really cutting edge and the very edge of innovation as far as gaming goes, you know, to have Facebook approach and say, we'd like to talk to you. I mean, so I'd been watching him and I thought what he was doing was very cool. Great personality, interacts with his people, cool effects and things happening during his stream, computer to all of this, you know, and I had never seen anything like that. And I thought, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, you disappeared for a second.
Yes, my phone rang. And so I looked at it and really I thought, that's what I want to do. In my non-gaming career, I was a public speaker, and now everybody that's watching is going to go back and count how many times I said, which has been dozens. I've got myself, but I was a public speaker in my career for 20 years. And you have to be able to direct a large group of people, and you have to be able to control them. And sometimes they didn't want to be there, and sometimes they weren't nice, and you had to be able to work that out and still be able to be nice at the end and have them like you. And again, it brought me another skill set. And I thought, I feel like I could do that. So I talked to the kids, and sure enough, they were interested in it. And so we didn't really have a direction. We didn't know if we wanted to stream, or we didn't really know. We just knew we wanted to be a part of it. And so we started kind of as a meme company. We launched on 4/20 of 2020. And if you go back on Instagram and look at our first picture, 4/20 of 2020. So we're coming up on 3 years. And the first 6-8 months or so, we were kind of a meme company. You know, we enjoyed watching these YouTube clips of gaming where we were like, oh, whoa, you know, and so that we wanted you to make us say wow, and if so, we were doing $500 a month as a prize, and the one that made us say wow the most, they won. And then it kind of morphed. I met my current business partner, Adam Lorimore from Lorimore Boys. He lives in Northern Ireland, and I found him flipping through streams. And he reminded me very much of another friend of mine I've spoke about, JTX, John Johnson. And his personality was very much like mine. And I started talking to him through text and became part of the show by accident. So I got a hold of him and told him what my concept was and what I had in place, and wanted to know if he wanted to partner. And he very quickly agreed to that. And we settled on tournaments, free cash tournaments. And we started building. He said, you should build a Discord, because I was trying. First thing I did, I'm old school. I went and built a website, Screwball Gaming, screwballgaming.com. And so that's the first thing I did. And he was like, yeah, that's not really what the guys are doing now, you know. We need to build a Discord. And so we went and we built the Discord, and you can find the Discord link. Anybody watching that's interested in finding out more about Screwball Gaming, it's on our website, screwballgaming.com. Follow the link for the Discord. And started throwing free cash tournaments, and it really caught on. We were, like I said, we were streaming them, and the community built and built and built and built. And so last year, we had the inaugural Screwball Gaming tournament, and I brought our moderators and my Screwball Gaming Warzone team and my administrators from all over the world, the ones that run my Discord. I flew them in from all over the world. And we
Wow.
had land. I produced a LAN event here for a $5,000 jackpot. And Screwball Gaming on Instagram, if you go back through, or Facebook, you can see the pictures of all of that. And then we filmed the entire thing, and we're processing the editing of that as we're going to try to release it as a series and see if we can't get it picked up somewhere. And we don't really have a name for it other than Screwball, but it kind of is going to be about how hard it is to break into this industry if you're brand new. And so we had everybody that came, they all videoed and vlogged their experience, their travel, whether they were driving or whether I flew them or whatever, the tournament, the get-togethers here. I have a large home here, and so we brought most of them stayed here. I had never met these guys before ever in my life, but I felt like I knew them well enough to trust them in my home. We filled the upstairs and the downstairs and the office, and we had people everywhere. And it was an amazing time. And so we're looking forward to that. The dates on that will be announced this very shortly. But the second annual will happen this year, and I'll be, that's one of the advantages. This is how I pay my people back that run the Discord. They do so much, and they do it for free. They do it out of the love of our community. No matter what is needed, if you want to stream, you can find it. So if you need people that can help you with builds, if you need people that can help you get discount parts, if you need people that can help you with the overlays or sound effects or whatever it is, we have a community of people that do that, and they do it for free out of love for the community. And I can tell you, there's 4,400-ish in there. I'm very confident that I can tell you that I could tell you personal stories of about half of them. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of them. It's fun. I got recognized. And that's a unique experience. Truly, that is a unique experience.
You mean in public, when you have been out there, people recognize you?
Yes, a couple of times. One, because of the tattoo, and I'll show you pictures. Maybe you can put them up. But it starts down here, goes all the way up, and includes the Screwball Gaming at the top. And on the back side, it has the castle. The castle has 3 banners on it. One that shows I was first for Mario, one that shows I was number 1 for Tiger Woods, and one that shows I was number 2 for Ghost. And Kyle, my tattoo artist, Cake Tats, is the one that's doing it for me, and we're doing it in stages. I'm 6-hour stage sessions in, and we're good to that here in the color, but everything else will also be colored by the time that we're done. So we'll have the second one this year, and we're going to change it. So this last year, I couldn't have ordered this any better if I was writing a script for trying to show how hard it is to break into the industry. But I got a hold of a company that shall remain nameless. I don't give it any publicity at all. I got a hold of a company here in town that had a gaming business. You go in, you can hold tournaments. They have, 30 or 40 machines around. And
so like an arcade.
Yeah, except they were all computer. Most of them were all set on computer. So a gaming center. And I went in and I talked to the guy, got to know the guy pretty good. He said, I was talking to him about running a tournament there and bringing people in. And he said, we're going to have one this weekend. Why don't you come by and take a look at it? So I went by, spent the weekend there and did the grip and grin and met everybody and got involved with the tournament and all of that. And it went off without a hitch. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is going to be fantastic. So I got all my guys, pulled them in. We had them come from Northern Ireland, from Nova Scotia, we pulled them from all over. The day of the tournament, we stop here at my front door. We do a little rah-rah. We load up. We get down there. His equipment failed us. We couldn't have a tournament. And so there's a whole lot of drama that was filmed where it's me and Doc and Lori, Adam, sitting in the back room saying, at this point, we don't have a tournament. And having to come up and kind of pivot and shift and figure out what we can do right then, which we saved the day. But it was great video. You couldn't have scripted it any better because who would have known that his equipment wouldn't be able to hold my tournament after I just watched one there, And so we decided instead of leaving it up to somebody's equipment that can fail this year to bring it all the way around, we're going to do a team building experience where I'm still going to bring in my admins and my mods and my teams, and I'm still going to bring Adam over from Northern Ireland. But this year, instead of a tournament, we're going to do a scavenger hunt. And we're going to pick teams. And there'll be Team Army 1417. And there'll be Team Adam. And then it'll be a video scavenger hunt. So they've got to go out. Things will be priced different ways. They've got a video in to show that they've got the points, which we'll be broadcasting the entire time. And I think that's a fun game oriented, but still get out and not necessarily have a controller in your hand and still do some team building. And so that's what it's going to be this year. And I'm very excited for the rest of the year for Screwball. I think we've got a lot of tournaments scheduled. We've got the Extravaganza, the team building experience, the second annual scheduled, and we're actually building several teams. We're going to be entering for tournaments shortly. So we have a Warzone team that we're building. We have a Search and Destroy team for COD that we're building, Rocket League, Apex. So I think we're building 8 teams in 7 games currently. So
Awesome.
If you guys are interested, anybody watching, if you ever thought, hey, maybe I could be a pro, look us up. I sponsor all those guys in different various ways. And so here's why I built Screwball this way. Like any company, and this is why I'm so also proud to be a part of GameTree. Like any company out there in any industry, once you become it, it's hard to become another it. Not another Ninja, right? There's not another Stone Mountain. There's not another Tim the Tap Man. There's not another Walmart. There's not another Shell station. You with me?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I know what you mean. You mean if you become it, you will be one of a kind. There's no second kind like yours.
And so, as a streamer, when somebody has become the one of a kind and they're aspiring to be that, there can't be that again. It has to be your own unique thing. And it's why I'm so proud of GameTree breaking into a space that nobody had. And that's what I wanted GameTree to be. I mean, that's what I wanted Screwball to be, is I wanted to be in a space that nobody was in. So I wanted to be for the small streamer trying to break in. I wanted to be there for that. And I'm very proud that we have built a community that is very much about propping each other up. You know, I used to do this thing called the ADR, and it stands for Army's Daily Rant. And when I was streaming daily, I would get on and I'd do a 30-minute Army's Daily Rant about whatever happened to catch my attention. And I remember I said to my audience, several hundred at the time, I said, you know, all you guys that are trying to be streamers, we could solve the problem of you being popular or not as a streamer inside Screwball. If you posted when you were going to go live and our community that you're part of and that you're helping build says, hey, Joe Blow is live, let's stop by. And if we all did that for each other, imagine how many people, you know, I don't want to be a boss. I want to make bosses. You know,
it's an interesting concept. Yes, I see.
So, and it's been working very well. If you look at the way that we've grown, people are like, you know, they've got the symbol up here, the little Screwball up here, or they talk about it, and people are like, what is Screwball? They're like, we're a gaming community, we're everything gaming. The word of mouth, even though it's slow, the word of mouth is really, and now I've got GameTree, so I've got access to, you know, 500,000 gamers worldwide. You can see why it was an easy transition, because now I'll just switch gears. You know, with GameTree, they've got game sessions, and you can schedule that game session in advance. This is brilliant. And you talk about a recruiting tool, because now everybody that's on the app that is playing that particular game, when they log on, the first thing they see is game session. There you are. You get access to 500,000 people, any number of which play that game, and all they got to do is join the session. And then now I have a list. You know, the last time I had 12 people that got in it. The time before that I had like 10 people. The time before that it was like 20. The time before that was like 8. But guess what? Every one of those people are now in Screwball.
Awesome.
And so GameTree, it's just a massive community building tool, you know, and it pairs you. Here's another thing I like about it. It pairs you with people that are going to gel with your personality depending on the game. So watch this. So let's put Call of Duty right here, and let's put Rocket League over here. Wildly different games, right? Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
wildly different. So when you are on GameTree and you look up Call of Duty, and it'll tell you if it recommends that you play the game according to your personality type. If it has a 12%, odds are you're not going to like it. Don't play it. It'll frustrate you. If you're at the 70s or 80s or 90s, this is something you're obviously going to dig, right? So then you're like, okay, I got the game recommendation. Recommend friends that'll play it with me. And now it'll go through this list, and it'll give you the probability for your type that it will mesh. So I'm an explorer. I don't need another explorer on my team. We're not going to play well together. GameTree knows that. The AI knows that. So they help you fill the team with the other team members you need. Now, if you go, but those teammates may not be the same teammates that you use over here in Rocket League because they play way different. And if you think about how much time and money that saves you, you don't have to buy a game anymore that you're not going to like, and you're not going to waste time playing with a toxic player you're not going to get along with.
Yeah, the toxic player is the thing that came up quite often in the interview with GameTree.
So I've been toxic, I'm sure we've all been toxic in games at some point, it's not my forte. But boy, I've been there, I've been that guy, but not typically. And so having to listen to that guy, I know is not fun because I've not been able to be the toxic guy. When I was number 2 in the world in Call of Duty Ghosts, my crew that I was running with, Godfather, Jason from Black Cat Killer, when I was running with those guys, we'd run you out of the room, and we meant to. I've chilled out a little bit, I think. As my skill level came down, as they add more and more buttons, and my skill level came down, my toxicity also came down. But I've had to listen to that guy, and it's not fun, So one of the things that GameTree is going to be introducing, and hopefully I don't get too much in trouble. You heard it here first. I'll kind of skirt around it because I don't know how much of it I'm really supposed to be able to tell. But we're bringing a feature that will allow you, if you get stuck in a toxic game, to transfer to another team that will put you with people that are like-minded. And goal oriented in the same way that you're like minded, and so that's something that's in the works that I know that working on. I'm very excited about. Curated Hangouts is also a big thing that will be released soon, and that will also help. I think help you find your team or your tribe quicker, because you can cut out a lot of the noise and filter it out and go, ping, that's where I want to go. And then the people that are there are all the people playing the game you're playing. And so I think, when I first talked to John, I told him, I get what you're doing because that's what I'm building, a microcosm of it with Screwball Gaming. It's a microcosm of what you're doing. And even though he's been doing it longer than me, I had the same idea set that he had, which is why I think that I've worked so well with them and trying to help what I can. And so as community manager, I get to see a lot more that you don't necessarily see, and I can understand how these little features are building, how well they work together. Super excited about.
So Screwball and GameTree has a lot of parallels.
Very much so. GameTree has a much broader reach than Screwball Gaming. And so even though I had started it before I ever knew about GameTree, at this point, Screwball Gaming is really holding on to the tailcoat of GameTree, because it's really the thing I think will help put my gaming community of Screwball Gaming on the map, I think.
I mean, we invited you because when I learned what other stuff you did next to being a community manager at GameTree, I was like, oh my god, this guy has done so much, Screwball, as I said, and then being the first to beat Super Mario Bros. On the Super Nintendo, all those achievements over the centuries, So
wow, wait a minute. Feel old, right?
I mean, personally, that's not how I see it. But perhaps that is because I came into video games because of my grandfather. So I played with him when he was still in his 70s. So for me, there's never been a point where I thought somebody is too old for gaming.
Well, I know that because of my love for it, right? I still sit down and play. I'm not as good at Warzone as I would like to be. And are you allowed to cuss on your show?
Pardon?
Do you curse on your show?
No.
Okay. That's why I asked.
Normally we don't. But yes, we once had Mr. Awesome on the show, and he cursed a lot. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, but I don't.
If you know who I mean.
Yes, indeed, I do, and he does curse like me. I've been very good. I use the F-bomb as a punctuation in sentences most of the time. But while I'm not as good at Warzone, and I find myself, because there's so much more to watch that I'm not military trained, so I don't understand how to watch zones. But boy, put me on a free for all, and I'm gonna get you because I'm a strategy player. And so I'm going to lock down areas, and they call that camping. I call it protecting a target-rich environment.
Yeah, I see.
But I will lock whole areas down, and if you get me, I'll move to another area of the map that I've already predetermined, and I will lock it down, and I will place most of the time. So I still have my skill set. But as the game gets bigger and my skill set stays in what my lane is, some of these other games like Apex, oh my God, love it. I can't, there's too much going on. I'm not very good at it. You know, it reminds me of Halo on steroids. And I was good at Halo, but something doesn't translate. And so, but I plan on being that guy in my 70s that's holding the Warzone 90 tournament. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, of course, you also have to see my grandfather. He loved games like Lemmings and stuff. You know, so that was a different time. That was a different time, and I also find Apex not one of my games. I'm also very terrible at it. You know.
If you think about history of gaming, right? So, and I'm going to use a computer screen as to do that. So let's do it like this. Let's black that out. Okay, so it used to be this was you gaming. You went left and right on the screen, and now all of a sudden you can go this way.
Yeah,
and this
3D.
Way,
yeah.
Anywhere you want. And when if you look at the evolution of it, just look at the evolution of Mario. You look at the evolution of how it's worked and the depth that it's creating. I remember telling my buddy John when we were playing the Dreamcast, and we were playing NBA 2K.
Yeah.
And we're just like, our mind is blown by the graphics. You've got sections of the stands will stand up, and and the people on the sidelines are doing stuff, and the guy is talking like it's live. And I remember saying to John, this is the best it's ever going to be.
Yeah, and then it improved still from there. Yeah.
So I have, if you're in my circle, you've heard me say this, they say that you can become immortal from your works. Your works will live on forever. I don't want to become immortal from my works. I want to become immortal from not dying. I want to see 100 years from now what gaming is.
Good luck with that.
I want to know if you look at this AI capability right now. Like, I just had some AI shots of me done. Right, you got to upload 15 selfies, and then it puts you in all these different situations. If they can do that now, in 10 years, then AI should be able to create a realm around you. Even though we can do that kind of now, with the Oculus, but in just 10 years, if you look at any rate of speed of increase at all, if you give it any at all, even if you bring it like instead of way up here, but you do that over 10 years, think about where we'll be when here we are now, and then what will that be in 90 years after that? I'm mad. I want to know. I'm not going to be around, but I want to know what it's going to be,
The thing is, often in history, things didn't turn out the way they would be, as we thought back then. Think about flying cars. They are still not there,
No, but But I was just going to use that as an example because in our brain, now I'm going to talk beyond the age of people. Some of the millennials are going to shut down right now, but in my age, when we're in the 80s thinking about flying cars, you're thinking there's no way you're going to get that 6-ton piece of metal out there in the air. Where if you look now, they're making them from propellers and batteries and not gas and engines. And we didn't have the ability to see that. You can't see over that hill of technology. And I want to know what's on the other end of that hill 100 years from now, because I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be amazing.
Probably, but perhaps it's going in the total different direction than we think right now. Another example would be 3D, I mean, virtual reality. I mean, look at it. Virtual reality was a thing in the 90s for a short period of time, and then it became a thing 5 years ago, and now nobody is almost talking about it anymore. So there are always some trends, or 3D TVs, also a dead trend,
And went. They came and went. Curved TVs came and went. So
yeah. You never know.
What we, again, very much like trying to see a flying car in the 80s, I believe we have no clue what it would really look like. And we're making judgments based on the information we have now, which has proved historically not to be accurate.
It's exactly that. Exactly, yeah. I mean, the question is also, would we want to have flying cars? Is it something good? Would we need them,
I listen. If they make me an Iron Man suit, I don't care if I'm 100. I'm in it. I'm flying. Let's go. Let's do it right now. You know what I mean? I don't know that part of me will ever leave. I've jumped off the stratosphere here in Las Vegas. You should Google that and see how I jumped off that. It was an amazing thing. I have no fear of. I take that back. I will share a personal experience that kind of changed my perspective. So when I was in Northern Ireland this last year, there's a lot of castles around there. And my cohort, Adam Lormore, he was nice enough, his family, to take us in and show us around. And so they were taking us out to show us this castle, but it was blocked by a castle wall way off. And the castle wall just basically went off to nothingness. And so not being able to get to the castle, but always being the guy that's about the shot, right? I need that shot. I climbed up on the wall that bordered it. The wall is about 6 foot and it's built like this, so it's very hard to walk on. And I walked about 300 yards to get closer. And as I'm getting closer, I can see on this side the cliff emerging. And it's like 6,000 feet or something like that, And me, no fear of anything, walking right along, videoing. I got within 10 feet of the end of that wall where it was just literally nothing, and my body shut down. You're not walking any further. Adam came up behind me, and I hear him, oh, what happened? You get a little scared? And he got right there, and he was like, oh, and I was like, same thing. So maybe that is going to wax and wane a little bit in my older age. But if they build a suit like that, and I'm in my 90s, dude, I'm in it. I'm going for sure. I'm all about it.
Doing the William Shatner experience.
For sure. I watched that. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't watch it, but I saw the reports about it, actually.
He was very moved, and I feel like anytime that you have the ability to experience something that was literally an impossibility in your youth, man, I think you should put fear aside and definitely get on board. This is the reason I'm still in gaming. Put fear aside. If I can pass one piece of advice on to anybody that's watching this, if you've ever thought about gaming, if you've ever wondered if you could do it, if you watch people and you're like, you're drawn to that, I can tell you'll never know unless you do it. And the thing that keeps people from doing it is not fear, is not lack of planning, is not any of those things. The thing that keeps people from doing it is you got to start. You got to start.
That's true.
You got to just start. You don't have to have a direction. Look, now here's the thing. Think about this. Let's say as a gamer, as a streamer, let's say that right now you have between 0 and 100 followers. Right? That's a lot of people out there. Let's say you have between 0 and 200 followers. Okay. If you're between 0 and 200 and you think 20,000 people, 20,000 followers is a lot, you're not going to get 20,000 followers until you start. And so it might as well be 1 million, might as well be 5 million, unless you start. We didn't have a direction as Screwball, but here I am now, entering our third year, about to be. We're still in our second year. When we get to April of this year, it will begin our third year. So still in our second year, we had 17,000 people show up and watch our last tournament. It didn't happen overnight. And it's a very slow process. But if I could tell anybody anything that will help them more than anything else in this planet is start.
That's true.
You know, listen, if you're going to work and you're working for the man 8-10 hours and you're coming home and you know and you don't understand why you're stuck, you're not stuck, you're unmotivated. You know, you got to want it. And if you really want it, then even a little bit of work a day will eventually yield rewards. You know, for Screwball Gaming, in our first 6 or 8 months, I remember when we broke 100 in Discord, I was like, oh my God, we have 100 people in Discord. We're at 4,400. 100 doesn't seem so much now. And if you think back what I was saying about the GameTree sessions, so let's say you had a session and you gained 12 people. Does that sound like a lot? But if you did 12 a week, 52 times, that's the thing. So I just encourage you, just start.
So if the gaming doesn't work anymore, you can be a motivation trainer.
Well, that was part of my 20-year career. So yeah, it just kind of bleeds over automatically.
Really, yeah.
Yes, that's what I did as a public speaker for many years. Is I was motivating people in a very specific, goal-oriented sales way. But yes, basically. But the reality is, I've lived it, I've walked it, and I know what will work and won't work. And if I can, let me just go. Even though he'll never see it, probably, you know, being the star that he is. Let me just go ahead and give a shout out to Stone Mountain 64 right here. He produced a class, a master's class, on how to become and how to run the business of being a streamer. And I took that class and I actually got some one-on-one time. The interview is on Screwball Gaming's YouTube, but I got some one-on-one time because I was kind of stuck. I had done it the old way, which was create a website. You can watch everything we stream from the website. You don't have to download any new apps. No, you don't have to, you know what I mean? And I couldn't get them to go over and support my Twitch because they didn't have to download anything if they watched it on. And so I took the class to get the one-on-one time to ask him specifically that question. But I give a shout out to him at this point because when I did get stuck, he was the one that is a warehouse of information and makes through pipeline I mean, I'm not trying to do an ad for him, but he's a warehouse of information that you get access to. I took that class, graduated from that class, and now we give that class in our community for free. And so his wealth of information that, you know, kind of passed the torch, if you will, we now give to everybody in Screwball in the Discord. If you're stuck, we give it to you for free. You don't have to pay the, you know, I don't remember what I paid, $200, maybe 170, something like that for the class. But now we offer it for free. And so if somebody is interested and they want to know how to do that, well, we're building a community that gives it to them for free. You know, it's kind of like the Android iPhone situation. You know, iPhone's like, we protect our information, and Android's like open source code. If you think you can make it better, come on in, you know? And that's kind of Screwball. We're open source, you know? Come on in. GameTree's the same way. If you think you can make it better, if you're trying to source, come on in. That's what we're there for, you know? And like I said, I'm truly blessed to be where I'm at right now and still be relevant. And I'm very thankful. In fact, so much so, I have several other businesses that are not associated with this at all. I'm in the legal industry. I have eBay stores. We do flips. We, you know, lots of thumbs and lots of pies, solar, pools, all that stuff. I'm very much trying to transition out of that and into this full time. and now I'm a part owner in GameTree. And so I'm hoping that when we are able to actually make it a public company, that will allow me to step away from everything not gaming and do what it is I love.
And then you will do gaming full time, basically.
And that's it. And that's what I want to do, because if you're watching and again, and you've ever thought, I wonder, you can. You really can. You don't have to be number one at anything. You don't have to be. People like themselves, and people that like you will gravitate towards you. If they've gravitated towards you in your streams, then if you reach out to them and actually communicate with them, if you're interested in them, you'll build community. And community will help you make the transition. And that's what's helping me make the transition. In just 3 years time, think about that. I had no thumbhold other than a little bit of history in the gaming industry. And now coming up on my 3rd anniversary, so 2 years and some months, look at the thumbprint I have in the industry now as being part of GameTree. Truly, if you love gaming and your parents are telling you, yeah, don't listen, man, because here I am. I'm about to switch careers in my 50s. It's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry for a reason, and there's plenty of places for people that are trying to get into it.
Yeah, but there are also many places where you can fail. I mean, especially in the gaming industry, it's a lot of hire and fire. If you for example, if you look in the PR side of publishers and game studios, people constantly switch jobs between different studios. So it really depends on the side of the gaming industry you're working in.
Which is why I never put my happiness, I never assign that to somebody else. That's too big of a task to let some random group of people do it. It's why I'm a believer that the only way to truly have true freedom, not financial freedom, but true freedom, is to work for yourself. And so if you're the one that is arranging and building and managing and massaging and updating the culture of your community, then you have a chance to really be in a like-minded community that can then take you places, because numbers don't lie. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. That's the old saying. So there are a lot of pitfalls out there, and I think that where the pitfalls are is, as far as trying to break into gaming, is trying to do too much too soon. Big one, right? You're not going to be where they are until you earn your stripes, as they say, until you walk that mile. That's a big thing. And then the other thing is trying to recreate what somebody else has done. I was trying to fashion Screwball after Stone Mountain's community because it was all I knew.
Oh, you went again.
First started was that community, and so when I was building mine, we have a CEO, and then I get to looking at Dr. Disrespect's community. I get to look at Tim the Tatman's community. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Communities, and I'm just like, there are other ways to do it. I don't have to recreate, and that's why I think really that Screwball's tried to give this information, is so that you don't have to be somebody else's community. Because if you assign your happiness to yourself and it's you working on your project, I think that any progress is progress. You're not. Sorry, it's one of my employees trying to get a hold of me, but any progress is progress. And so if you can be happy with progress, then keep your eye on the progress and not on the trying to be a superstar. Be interested in your people, and those people will come back again. And then that again builds community, that builds success, that, you know what I mean? And so if you're trusting somebody else to do it for you, there's a lot of hiring process. The point is you're going to fail more than if you do it on your own. But if you do it on your own and fail, now never to do that again.
But nobody is the not everybody is the type of person doing it on your own. I mean, for example, myself, I couldn't believe how it is being responsible for my own income. I really prefer to work for somebody and have not to put up with that, being worried about if I will have income tomorrow or something. So it really depends on the type of people.
In personality type, and I'm sorry, he's obviously needing to get a hold of me, but I'm not going to break this for that. So, but if you look at the way that the personality types are broke down, going back to GameTree and talking about John actually created a new personality test. It's being used at different universities. Cambridge, I think, is using it. There's a links to it if you know, to be able to use the information that breaks down personality types to the nth degree. You know, back in my day when I was learning personality types, there were 4. You know, A, B, C, and D. If you're an A driver, or you know what I mean. And so, if you look at the A, B, C, D personality types, A and D right across from each other, can never be each other. A being I want to do it on my own. D is I want the security of knowing somewhere between there, A, B, C, and D. In the middle of that point is the sweet spot where all of them come together, you know. And so, you know, even if you aren't in life, you don't feel comfortable in worrying about where the next check's going to come from. If you look at gaming is so much its own entity, its own monster, its own beast of a person, its own personality. That really, even though you don't feel like that's you in this category, I've seen a lot of my gamers who aren't in that category realize they can take control of their own life on the gaming front and do it themselves while I still have the security of being able to depend on other things for other people for other parts of their life. And so for me, having lived on both sides, I will always foremost upfront, first piece of advice, if you can do it on your own, do it on your own. And even though here I am with Screwball with a partner, right? So it shows you, you know, but again, very much like-minded and all that. And I built it before I took him on. It was only after I had built it and knew that he would do it my way that I took it on. And so you don't always have to be a lone soldier, even though my gamer tag says a lot about me, Army One. You know, I've always been of that mind, a team. You know, what does Stone say? Teamwork makes the dream work. So I can see teams are very valuable. But I would always encourage somebody, start and get the education for yourself first. That's what I would start and you know, if you fail, you learned. If you never fail, you're never going to learn.
True. Awesome. So where can people find about Screwball?
Okay, so let me just kind of run through it. So if you're looking for me on social medias, it's Robert Tuck, Tuck, like Friar Tuck, or Tucker without the ER. My parents were poor and they couldn't afford the other 2 letters. So Robert Tuck, if you're looking on social media. Army 1417, all one word. I don't know, in my tattoo, put it on Mario's shoe right here. Very Toy Story is there. But Army 1417, it's ARMYOFONE 417. Screwball Gaming on any social media, so Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And then GameTree on any social media as well.
Awesome. So you said we would be done in a couple of minutes, and we actually surpassed 1 hour. So
really,
yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Well, it was a very fun, fast hour.
You see? Yeah, I mean, as I told you, when I learned about what you do, I found it super amazing, and so I thought we have to do this interview, and I'm so glad we did. You know.
Me too. I've had a great time. I hope that we positively affect some lives. Would you like to see my office before we go?
Sure.
All right. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you around. Let me just see if I can turn this around again, if I can figure that out. If I go like this. No. Okay. So I'll just flip it around and we'll start over here and go this way. So, of course, my streaming setup is over here.
With the ring lamp.
This is a very famous saying of mine. Success is never owned. It's rented, and rent is due every day. If you're in my circle, you will have heard that. My collectibles, of course, are in here.
Awesome.
then some awards and what have you back on that side. I've got my daughter on one side, Mario in the middle, and my wife on the other. So I feel like that's pretty balanced, right? And then my desk, we've got Mario set up in different places. And then over here is the very first spotlight, community spotlight that we did that had Adam on it. And there, Adam and I, when we were in Northern Ireland, my collectibles go up and around, and then my showcase.
Amazing.
Which is, like I said, I have a big relationship. This is me as Mario, actually.
Interesting.
And so I have a love for the game. I have a love for the guy. I'm very upset that they put Chris Pratt in. I like Chris Pratt, nothing against Chris, but that's not Mario's voice. You know what I mean? I'm old school, but it's a lot in here. It's a lot. I've had to downsize a couple times because I look up and there's no shelf room anywhere for anything. So, but if I can, one more thing, let me get a plug in for the company. Look us
Awesome.
up. Look us up. If you have questions and you're interested in building, you will actually talk to me. I don't pawn that off on people. So if you have questions, problems, cares, concerns, if you want to talk to somebody about gaming, if you just got questions about the past or whatever, get on our Discord, tag me. I'll answer you personally.
I will certainly join after this interview.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
See you now.
Bye.